Most highways feel the same at night. Endless asphalt. Empty lanes. Headlights stretching into darkness. There's comfort in the predictability of it, the quiet hum of tires, the rhythm of passing mile markers, the reassurance that the road always leads somewhere. But there is one stretch of highway that doesn't follow those rules. According to official maps, it doesn't even exist. And yet, everyone who drives the A47 knows exactly where it is. Mile marker 217. The missing mile. Truckers talk about it in half-jokes on late-night radio. Taxi drivers change routes without explaining why. Police reports mention accidents that never make the news. And locals? Locals pretend they've never heard of it at all. Because the strangest part isn't the crashes or the disappearances. It's the gap. On paper, the highway runs clean and continuous between mile 216 and mile 218. But when you drive it after midnight, there's a stretch of road that lasts far longer than 1 mile. A place where GPS freezes, radios die, and the road ahead never seems to get any closer. I first heard about the missing mile when my editor tossed a thin folder onto my desk like it was a joke. He called it an easy story. A local legend. Good for clicks. Inside were yellowed newspaper clippings stretching back decades, abandoned vehicles with engines still warm, crash sites with no skid marks, witnesses who described hours of driving through a stretch of road that should have lasted 60 seconds. The final page was handwritten, scrawled in hurried ink: if you drive it after midnight, don't check the rearview mirror. That warning should have been enough. Instead, it convinced me to go. I left just before midnight, telling myself skepticism was protection. The road was empty in the way only rural highways can be, a silence so complete it presses against your ears. When mile marker 216 slipped past my headlights, nothing happened. Just road. Just darkness. Then the radio exhaled a long breath of static. The GPS froze mid-refresh. The clock on the dashboard blinked once, and stopped. At first, it felt like nothing. Then it felt like something was missing. Highways have a rhythm, distant engines, the whisper of wind, the sense of motion beyond your headlights. Here, there was nothing but the hum of tires and the road stretching endlessly forward. 5 minutes passed. 10. There was no sign for mile 217. No curve. No exit. Just a straight black ribbon pulled tighter and tighter into the night. The first abandoned car appeared suddenly on the shoulder, headlights still on, driver door slightly open. Inside sat a half-empty coffee cup and a phone glowing with a cracked screen, the navigation app endlessly recalculating a route that would never update. I slowed, expecting someone to step out of the darkness. No one did. Then the radio began whispering. At first it was static. Then syllables formed, fragments of conversations layered over each other like voices trapped in broken glass. I heard warnings. Please. Someone crying. And then I heard my own name, spoken in a voice that sounded too much like mine. Minutes stretched into something longer. The fuel gauge dropped faster than it should. The odometer ticked forward relentlessly. I was moving, undeniably moving. But the road refused to change. A mile that wouldn't end. That's when the headlights appeared behind me. 2 white circles in the rearview mirror, hovering at a perfect distance. Not gaining. Not falling behind. Just watching. Patient. Silent. I remembered the note too late: don't check the rearview mirror. Speed limit signs began appearing along the road. 45 miles per hour. Then another. And another. Dozens of identical signs flashing past like blinking eyes. Each one slightly more weathered than the last, as if time itself was passing faster on the roadside than inside the car. My phone rang with no signal bars. The caller ID read unknown driver. When I answered, static breathed through the speaker before my own voice whispered, "You shouldn't have come back." A truck roared past from the opposite direction, blinding me for a split second. When my vision cleared, the headlights behind me were gone. Then an exit ramp appeared where none should exist. No signage. No lights. Just a curve peeling away into darkness. The GPS flickered back to life for a single moment and displayed 2 words, "Take exit." The ramp led to a town that wasn't on any map. Houses lined quiet streets, every window glowing warmly. Cars sat in driveways. Curtains hung perfectly still. No movement. No people. Just the feeling of a photograph pretending to be real. As I drove through, every porch light flicked off at once. Streetlights dimmed one by one until only my headlights remained. At the edge of the town stood a gas station buzzing beneath a flickering neon sign. Inside, shelves were stocked, coffee steaming. Behind the counter stood a man who looked like he'd been waiting years for the door to open. "You're early," he said. He told me everyone who drives the missing mile eventually reaches the station. Some stay. Some leave. None return the same. Behind him hung hundreds of car keys labeled with mile markers, numbers faded, numbers scratched away. He handed me one labeled 217 and said, "You dropped this the first time." Memories surfaced like wreckage rising from deep water. The same road. The same silence. The same headlights behind me. A drive I didn't remember taking. A story I had already written. Just before dawn, I drove back onto the highway. Mile marker 218 appeared within seconds. Traffic flowed normally. The radio played music. The clock ticked forward like nothing had happened. Back home, I opened my laptop and found a document saved 3 years earlier. The title read "The Missing Mile of Highway." The article was finished. The final sentence read, "I'm going back tonight to see if it will let me leave this time. And somehow, I already know that I will."